Today announced that President Bola Tinubu will assent to the recently passed tax bill over the next 2 weeks. Mr. Edo made a remark at a policy lecture organized by the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee in Abuja in commemoration of the 50th birthday of Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. The minister explains that the tax bills will bring to the nation system fairness, clarity, and ease of tax administration with a view to the provision of better services for Nigerians. Now, there is one man who speaks for government, speaks for the federal government. But the question you'll be asking, what has the Tinubu government done? How are the promises they made to Nigerians and the delivery of such promises, how are they able to defend it to the Nigerian people? The man is here with the facts and the figures tonight. How will they be able to convince Nigerians that they have delivered on the promises made to the Nigerian people? We're speaking to the spokesperson of this government. He is in the know of the promises made at the campaign. He's in the know of the facts and figures. He's in the know of the intention of President Bola Tinubu. He's in fact being briefed personally by the president to speak on the behalf of the cabinet tonight on the program. I will be asking all of the questions that you need to know. But first and foremost, let's take a look at your political roundup stories.
A member of the House of Representatives from Rivers State, Dumnamene Deko, is appealing to the president to honor other martyrs of the Ogoni land, such as the Ogoni Four. The lawmaker believes that this will deepen reconciliation and promote lasting peace in the region. Honorable Deko is also appealing to the president to enforce the original east-west road design in Ogoni land, which is a major road connecting the Port Harcourt refinery.
Mr. President will further appeal. The Ministry of Works, Federal Ministry of Works, of the opinion that 2 of the 3 flyovers should be discontinued, even after piling has been done.
The governor of Bayelsa State, Senator Duediri, has restated his administration's commitment to completing the ongoing Nembe Brass Road project, a strategic infrastructure that he says will transform the region's economy and open up new opportunities in tourism. The governor gave the assurance during a thank you tour to Tuan Brass, where he was warmly received by residents, stakeholders, and traditional rulers.
In our first phase, we awarded that contract at that time for 54 billion. But with the skyrocketing of everything and things that were not done, we had a variation that was more than the amount we used in awarding the contract.
The Cross River State Governor Basi Utu has sworn in Egbung Odama as the acting chairman of Bekwara local government area. The appointment comes after the suspension of the former chairman, Honorable Theresa Uche, following a petition from the local legislative council alleging financial misconduct and administrative irregularities. Speaking after the swearing-in at the State Executive Council, Governor Utu urged the new chairman to promote unity, transparency, and development at the grassroots. Civil society organization Action Aid Nigeria is pushing for greater transparency and accountability in Nigeria's judicial system. The country director of Action Aid Nigeria, Mr. Andrew Mamedu, made the call at the official launch of the Citizens' Actions for Judicial Accountability in Abuja. Mr. Mamedu described the initiative as a strategic mechanism to promote judicial accountability, protect human rights while deepening citizen engagement, amplifying public voices, and strengthening the justice system.
Thank you so much. There you have it. You're now up to speed with your political roundup stories. Let's take you to Benue State, where President Bola Tinubu has mandated the country's service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Kade Egbetokun, to go after those behind the dastardly killings in Benue State, which have now left scores of people dead and many others severely injured. The president was in Benue State earlier today, where he issued that directive during his visit to see those who are been attacked, the situation on the ground in the north central state. Of course, the top chief and the chairman of the Benue State Traditional Council, James Ayate, has accused some politicians of deliberately politicizing the state security crisis and allegedly wishing for the situation to deteriorate. Take a listen to him.
Police, I hope your men are on alert to listen to information. How come no arrest is being made? I expect there should be arrests of those criminals. Christopher, thank you very much. I watch your comments and I know you can't be tired of staying in the bush and Oloyede and Basha. Thank all of you. But we need to keep our ears to the ground. Let's get those criminals. Let's get them out. So,
that's President Bola Tinubu there giving the directive. But let me allow you to listen to the tortive when he spoke about politicians and how they're politicizing what is going on, the crisis, cashing on the crisis in Benue. Take a listen to the traditional ruler.
We do have grave concern about the misinformation and misrepresentation of the security crisis in Benue State. Your Excellencies, it is not herder farmers clashes, it's not communal clashes, it's not repressor attacks or skirmishes. It is this misinformation that has led to suggestions such as remain tolerant, negotiate for peace, learn to live with your neighbors. What we are dealing with here in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign by herder terrorists and bandits, which has been on for decades.
Those words were not minced by the traditional ruler, but when it was the turn of the governor, I said earlier, he asked the federal government to establish state police and an intervention fund following the fresh wave of killings in the north central state. Take a listen to Reverend Father Alia.
While we continue to mourn our losses and rebuild from the ashes of pain, we humbly urge the federal government to consider establishing a special intervention fund for communities affected by these incessant attacks in Benue State. Such a fund would go a long way in supporting the rehabilitation of the displaced persons, building of destroyed infrastructure, and restoring the livelihoods of our farmers and families whose lives have been upended. Our administration will keep working to ensure that our people are not only safe, but can thrive on their own land.
All right, then, let's get into our conversation tonight. President Bola Tinubu has been in office for the last 48 months or so. That's halfway into the 4-year mandate given to him by the votes that he got at the 2023 election. He got about 36.61% of the entire vote. defeating Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, in an election that the nation held its breath over what was going on as everyone went to the ballot. But after these 48 months, how would you assess the government of today? Based on the promise in the renewed hope agenda, the things that the government of today says they have done for the Nigerian people, and perhaps are the lives of the Nigerian people better how they met it in May of 2023. Tonight, there's one man who takes the burden and they shoulder all of the pressure of speaking for government. He's the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohamed Idris Malagi. He's live for us here in Asuda. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sho. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's your first time on politics today, isn't it?
Oh, yes, but not first time in channels.
No, definitely
yes,
not.
already, but of course, yes, yeah, thank you.
Seeing what happened in Benue State, what are the import of what you're getting from those senior members of the federal government who went there? And perhaps the president has given a marching order. So the question a lot of Nigerians will be asking is that how significant will those marching orders be?
Well, quite significant. First and foremost, our hearts go to those who lost their lives. It's an unfortunate situation. We shouldn't have that happen in Nigeria. But this has happened over and over and over again. But what is different now is the kind of response that we're seeing from Mr. President. He went there, and he didn't just go there. He went with the full weight of his administration. You could see the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and all those who matter, who should help to make sure that this problem is stamped out once and for all. And mark you, hear the President's words, get them out. These were his marching words, and he taxed them. And indeed, at a point, he was saying, why have there been no arrest? So he charged the Inspector General of Police there and then, charged the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, to ensure that the perpetrators of this criminal act, leave our scene. It's really an unfortunate situation. And I'm happy that Totif didn't say that this is a religious war. His words that we need to come together again for this country to move on. Faith, politics, religion, and our social life must align for us to have a proper Nigeria. It's really a very sad one, but I'm happy that the president was there. He went to the hospital, commiserated with those who were injured, came to a town hall, really unprecedented in that approach, and everyone was there. Everyone was allowed to air his views. The Totif made his position clear. The governor said what he was trying to say. But the president, like a father to the nation, said we all have to come together. It's not about Benue. It's not Christian. It's not Muslim. It's not whoever. It is Nigeria. All of us have to align so that we can have a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria.
So it's on the issue of security that a lot of people will say that's perhaps the most fundamental role of government. Now, under this government, this is happening. Is it a failure of government?
No, certainly not. You said it in your opening remarks that this has been happening in decades. Government has a great responsibility to ensure that people's lives and property are protected. That's the first role of government, any government for that matter. And so President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recognizes that, and that's why he feels pain. Look at the investment that the president has made in security since he came into office. Massive amounts of money allocated, for security. Over 35 helicopters and airplanes were procured. About 4 vessels were procured. A large amount of ammunition that will help in fighting these criminal elements have also been acquired.
Has it generated any result?
Oh, yes, it has. Look, I use this example quite often. Look at the distance between Kaduna and Abuja, for example. A few years ago, it was almost impossible for you to pick up your keys and begin to travel to Kaduna easily. You begin to ask, are they there? Have they come out?
And by train?
Oh, yes, by road and by train, yeah. It was, but now, nobody asks questions again. Sometimes we tend to forget. Mind you, these problems are not yet over. There's no time, at no place has the president ever said that we have completely solved the security situation of this country. But there's the political will, there's the energy now that is being put out. The people, there's an alignment now between the security forces, which is key in, winning this war completely. They are aligning very well, they are moving together, and we are seeing the result happening. You pick your keys now, you go to Kaduna. Farmers are gradually returning to their farmlands. Yes, it's not yet El Dorado, it's not yet Uhuru for everyone yet. We've seen skirmishes, we've seen also the resurgence of these criminal elements in the northeast largely, and some parts of the north central and northwestern states. But they're not over. These situations are not over yet, but we are seeing a gradual but sure, steady return to normalcy in this country.
But what is the pattern that is different that could give Nigerians that level of confidence that this government really knows how to handle security? Yes, if you do the same thing, some of these issues, like the Tortiva said, this age-long, decades of patterns of how people are being killed. Is there any different approach that his government is employing to give Nigerians some kind of benefit of thinking, oh, we're in the right hands?
Absolutely, sure. I think the first one is this show of leadership. I mean, look at how the president responded to what has happened. Look at his words directly to those who are in charge of keeping us safe. Get these criminals out. I mean, this is a very strong word directly to them in the presence of all the stakeholders, I mean, the communities that were affected. And then look at the kind of synergy we are seeing for the first time. Once upon a time, we saw in this country where, members of the security forces are not even aligned with each other. You see the Air Force not aligning with the Army not so much aligning with the DSS and all that. But for the first time, we're seeing real synergy, happening between them. The president has driven them to a direction that all of them will have to come together, act together in the interest of Nigeria. Then, secondly, look at the kind of investment that the president has made. I mean, 25 platforms acquired, massive amounts of money put in. Look at the number of the criminal elements that have been taken out. The latest statistics is showing that over 13,500 of them have been taken out, these criminal elements taken out, eliminated, completely taken out. I mean, and then not just those who are perpetrating this act, they are leaders in the north-western parts. Most of the leaders, and the northeastern, most of the leaders of these criminal people have actually been taken out. Of course, there are still some of them, pockets of them remaining. About 120, over 120,000 of them have surrendered. About 17,000 of them, over 17,000 actually, have been reunited. Those who have been taken hostage have been reunited with their family. Let me take you back to what happened in Kaduna State about a year or two ago. I mean, for the first time, when children were being taken hostage by these criminal elements, first, there's ownership by government. Within 2 hours, there was a statement signed by the president himself. It was out there. He gave marching orders, and within no time, these young ones were reunited with their family. These are all marked difference with what we used to have in the past.
And you will be very familiar with this question because you are from Niger State, perhaps the second largest in terms of landmass in Nigeria, and you will understand how important our borders are in securing this country. A lot of the infiltration that we're talking about, a lot of the insecurity is due to the porous borders. Is this government really thinking about handling or tackling some of these issues, especially fixing the porous borders? We've said this over and over every other year. But is the Tinubu government, has it seen the problem of porous border? Is it tackling it? What are the methods?
Well, you've had only a few days ago the Minister of Interior talk about that. Clearly, like you have said, it's impossible. Our borders are porous, interstate, and outside our country. And because fighting insecurity is such that you have to do it holistically. Now, within the states, they need to collaborate. And we also need to align, be on the same page with some of these neighboring states, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, these states are, surrounding us. That's why we have the joint multinational task force in Maiduguri, for example. All of them coming together. But securing our border is a very, very challenging task. And you know that Nigeria is such a huge country. And like you heard the Minister of Interior said, he needs, a lot of money to be able to do that. Only recently, the president has approved that immigration officers be recruited, to help to strengthen this border. He's also bringing technology into it. But you see, these things are work in progress. They are really, really things that we need to do to fix these
Nigerians would like to know whether this government knows what it's doing in that area, or whether or not they even have it in mind.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So President Bola Tinubu is not the kind of president that does not see what happens around him. He sees, he knows, and he discusses with all of us, his ministers. his key advisors, and he knows what he's doing. I can assure you that President Bola Tinubu is going to fix this.
Okay. We'll come back to some of those activities, but let me take you up on a few issues. Minister of Information. Over the years, there's a reputational issue with that ministry and that office. Sometimes they come as attack dogs. But you don't look like you're an attack dog. Maybe we're always saying Minister of Information and that burden of wanting to tell Nigerians about, and it always comes across as though they're trying to tell Nigerians what Nigerians don't like to hear. How has it been being a Minister of Information in a reputationally very dangerous terrain?
Well, it's a tough one, I must admit. And ministers of information all over the world have this tough task, but we've signed in for it. I've been in this communication business for over 30 years, and I know what it is. Attack dogs, no. Ministers of information or those who speak for government are not attack dogs.
I've not been seeing you coming after your
position. Oh, yes, yeah, because...
Unlike your predecessors.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that. What I want to talk about is that there is a refreshing difference now in the way that communication is being handled. First, you know, over the years, there has been breakdown in trust between government officials and those who are either elected or appointed like me, to the extent that when they come out to say, Nigerians begin to hiss and say, what is he saying? What is there to talk about? But now we are restoring that gradually. But to do that, you must cultivate that trust. People must trust what you say. And the only way you can do that is by giving them honest, credible, and patriotic information at all times. Yes, sometimes the stories may be bad, but we still give it out.
Do you think that the Nigerian people trust this government?
I think they do. I think that there's some kind of transition we are seeing in the psyche of Nigeria towards this understanding and belief in the government. Because all the things we say we are going to do, we are seeing that happening gradually. I mean, it may be slow because the decay has been so bad. It's a building that does not have a very solid foundation. You need to really go back to the basics, rebuild, and then you have a solid structure standing.
Minister, let me tell you, I mean, you may have been far away because you've taken 48 months away from actual practice. So you're being in government. So you may not know what some Nigerians are feeling. At the moment, there seems to be a feeling of a gagging, a feeling of lack of press freedom, a feeling of lack of freedom of speech, a feeling that voices of dissent is being come after by this government. That this government doesn't like the voice of dissent, doesn't like opposition. They go after them. That is a perception that this government has. And you are the man that is in charge of public relations of the government.
Sure. How many journalists are behind bars because of the views that they have held? How many media professionals have been taken out or been put in prison because of what they have written? You see, Nigeria is enjoying one of the freest press freedoms in the world, one of the freest freedom in terms of press freedom. We are actually a very free country in terms of press freedom. But you see, freedom also has to come with responsibility. If you don't have what it takes to say something, for goodness sake, please leave it out there. You can't just take up your pen, take up your smartphone or your laptop and begin to talk what you know within you that is not correct, and you think that you are practicing press freedom as much as possible. And I've never remembered a time when President Bola Tinubu has told me, please go and take this out. We've never done that. We don't attempt to kill stories. We don't attempt to gag anybody.
The fines leveled against media organization, threat to withdrawal of licenses, things that you hear about how we are in the practice. We know what regulation means and all these that have happened. And those who think that the government of the day use security agencies to go after social media users.
Well, let me say this. I think you need to separate the two now. You have the traditional media, like channels, like others who are doing this job. And then you have those in the social media and the digital world. But now all of them are very important. And you know that the social media is now largely, it's unstoppable. It's already going out there. 60% of our population are young people. And, many of them don't even read these newspapers. They are always, clinging to their phones and their laptops and their devices, and therefore you need to meet them where they are, and that is what that should tell you that, social media is actually very, very important. It's very useful. Government likes it. Government loves it. But what we are saying is that you can say what you want to say. But for goodness sake, say the truth. Even for you as a journalist, you need to know that, any information, the best of editors is the person who knows what to say at any given time. You cannot just write or say what you want to say and think that you are doing press freedom. Press freedom, yes, is there. The president is, has guaranteed that it has to be there. It is enshrined in our constitution. Democracy cannot thrive without the media doing its role. But we also take enormous responsibility. We have to take enormous responsibility in doing that. And I'll give you what the president is doing. As we speak now, the federal government is in collaboration with UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, to bring about what is called the Media and Information Literacy Center in Nigeria, the first of its kind. In November, this is going to happen. And it will be set up here. It's a Category 2 UNESCO institute, ever to happen anywhere in the world. Now, what this does is it will help to train our media professionals, but not just media professionals, political office holders, so that they will be able to discern when they see good news and bad news, and then they'll be able to, take the bad from the, from the good, and understand that, yes, indeed, you can have information flow, but you can also have it in a way that promotes patriotism, that promotes democracy, that promotes development, not just destruction.
So I'll take you further, because now this is under your purview. So the president on Democracy Day, and he said something which I'm going to quote. He said, as elected leaders, we must continue to do more to make real the dream of Nigeria's political and economic democracy. We must be vigilant in expanding the political space. We must always value dialogue over dictatorship, persuasion over suppression, and rights over might. Be tolerant and broad-minded in your legislative action regarding speech and civil liberties. Do not be afraid to hear an unkind word spoken against you. Some of the best advice a politician gets sometimes comes from his most ferocious opponent. We dare not to seek silence, because the imposed silence of repressed voices breeds chaos and ill will, not the harmonics of democracy in the long term. Minister, these are excerpts from the President Bola Tinubu's speech. And these are policy statements, which anything that comes out of the president's mouth is a policy direction, policy statement. And when we say with this policy, it then means that based on what the president said, no citizen can be charged with any criminal offense for defaming public officers. That is what it meant.
So are you in doubt?
Does this government stand by it?
Did you hear what he said in Benue today? He repeated that they're not just words, they are coming from the president's inner heart. Listen to him when he was addressing the stakeholders in Benue today. He repeated the same thing.
So we can hold this government.
Please hold this government accountable. He has never, I've never seen where
voice will be repressed. No oppression based on voices of dissent.
President Bola Tinubu has been in office 2 years now. I keep asking you, who are those that have been repressed? Occasionally, you have overzealous security people trying to be overzealous. But I tell you, on the scale, on the large scale, on the broader scale, the government is very tolerant of the press. We are determined to ensure that Nigerian press is not just free; it's one of the freest in the world. He is a product of democracy himself, President Bola Tinubu. I mean, he knows the media very well. I mean, the media also helped him to come to where he is. He knows how responsible the media is. He knows that it's impossible to have, a democratic nation if the media is not thriving.
I remember what happened with one of the dailies, the story of Samoa, and it was an interesting scenario, which I know and I read how your office and that daily, national daily, got in almost a disagreement over what was said and how it's been said. So there are those who will take that up. How was that handled?
Well, I think it was handled professionally. And let me give you a little background. We woke up one day and then we heard about Samoa. And I saw this very big banner on the front page of